Welcome to Fireside Gaming. I'm Billum, and this is Indie Insight, a review series focusing on games from indie developers. And for the first time since I made this channel almost 2 years ago, I'm reviewing a game that only recently came out. That game is Curse Crackers, For Whom The Belle Toils. Curse Crackers comes from a relatively small indie developer called Collargrave. This is only the second game they've released, but they're already showing potential as the perfect group for new games that mimic the Game Boy Color aesthetic. I'm gonna briefly talk about the story of Curse Crackers now, but I won't be diving into spoiler territory since this game is still so new at the time of this review. Curse Crackers follows the former acrobat Belle. She's an ungifted, meaning that unlike many of the other races of Lidamra, she has no special abilities. Our journey with her starts with a date. She's off to see her new boyfriend, Clyde. He's a knight and also her childhood friend. Unfortunately, their date doesn't last long before Bonnie, another childhood friend of Belle and Clyde's, interrupts their outing. Using her magical powers, she kidnaps Clyde and floods the land with Graven. This has Belle battling her way through these foes as she attempts to catch up to Bonnie and rescue her new boyfriend. And boy can Belle move! Her former occupation as an acrobat at the carnival gives our spirited heroine a wealth of physical abilities to rely on while chasing after Bonnie. Belle has all the basics of platforming down. She can run, jump, and bounce off of enemies' heads. But that's only the start. Players can perform a slide tackle that will take out unguarded enemies. Jumping at the same time as sliding will send Belle springing forward in a long-range leap. Also, crouching before jumping will allow her to gain extra air. These alone are enough to get Belle through most of the challenges that she faces. But our acrobat has one more secret weapon up her sleeve: Chime. Chime is a mysterious creature that Belle found when she was little. He's got an incredible appetite and is great at assisting Belle in her acrobatics. Belle can throw Chime at enemies to defeat them, and he can also be used as an extra boost to get to those hard-to-reach places. There will also be select spots where he can eat food made by Claire for new abilities. Several levels in Curse Crackers also see Belle using Chime to press switches and solve puzzles. And while I'm talking about levels, Curse Crackers has an incredible wealth of them packed into a $15 game. I discovered more than 50 during my time with the game, and I'm not even sure I found everything. Well, actually, I know I didn't. My completion rating was sitting at 82% when it was all said and done, and I have almost 20 hours in the game. And here's where I have to talk about something that's a little strange about Curse Crackers. The majority of my time with the game wasn't actually spent on the main story. Instead, it was tackling post-game content. In fact, I beat Curse Crackers at about the 8-hour mark. That means that I spent more time playing after I saw the credits than before. That's partially due to the wealth of content that opens up to players once the main game is complete. Various side quests become available, and there's even some follow-up tasks to complete that give closure to the main game. Another huge part of that is the massive amount of collectibles present in Curse Crackers. For example, players can collect 3 magical roses in each level. Then there are extra medals for target challenges, speedruns, as well as hitting the goal with Chime from far away, or not taking damage from the boss. Those tasks alone can have players revisiting levels quite a bit as they are tied to a few of the different post-game quests. But those are only the collectibles that the game easily tracks for the player. Also hidden in levels are Oath Blades, Lost Tomes, and Malice, as well as some hidden ruin pieces. While players can see how much of these they've collected from the pause menu, there's currently no way to tell which levels they got them from. I say currently because this was a complaint I tweeted about before writing this review. And I got a response from one of the developers at Collargrave saying they were working to address the issue. While there's no time frame for when that change is coming, or in what form it will be in, I'm glad it's something that's on their radar. Without that feature, the postgame can become more of a chore, as players likely won't remember the levels they've already gotten all the collectibles from, as compared to the ones that they haven't. At least, that's how I felt during my last 2 or 3 hours of play. And that's not a case of the gameplay being boring. I'm not exaggerating when I say Curse Crackers offers some of the best platforming there is. Everything about its controls are just so tight and easy to understand. The entire experience feels incredibly natural and enjoyable. I hold it up there with the greats like Shovel Knight and Shantae, but there's only so much backtracking I can handle before burnout starts to set in. And while that collectible issue is a thing, I can't help but wonder if having so much post-game content isn't a bit of a misstep. Don't get me wrong, I love this game, and the postgame does a lot of world building for what I can only hope will be more games set in Lidamra. but it feels like there should have been a more even split of world building between the main game rather than the majority of it coming after the credits have rolled. What I will say is that it makes for an interesting mix of gameplay. During the main story, Curse Crackers was completely a platformer with the occasional stop to talk to the residents of Lidamra. But afterwards, it turned into an almost RPG experience with the amount of quests I was taking on. Helping friends solve their problems, seeking out secrets to boost Belle's own abilities, as well as taking part in the occasional minigame are just some of the things you're going to do. I do also want to mention a setting that might help players out. When running in Curse Crackers, the camera shifts to give players a better view of what's ahead of Belle. Back when I played the demo, this didn't bother me at all, but I was only on a 22-inch screen at the time. However, playing the full game on my 55-inch TV, the frequent camera shift did start to give me a headache. If you end up in the same boat as me, you can turn this feature off in the pause menu. It's listed as run lead, and disabling it gave me a headache-free experience afterwards. I've already mentioned the visuals a bit, and you've obviously been seeing the game all throughout this review, but I do have to highlight them once more. Colorgrave does such a fantastic job at making lively, beautiful, GBC-inspired sprites. Everything about the world just feels so full of life with excellent character designs, backgrounds, and animations. Adding to that is the incredible soundtrack. There are so many great tunes to listen to all throughout the game, starting right at the title screen and all the way to the end credits and beyond. I'd list out the ones I enjoy most, but then I'd just be reading the name of every song on the OST. But what I will do is a special call out for The Belle Toils. This is a track that plays during the final battle of Belle's story. Don't worry, I'm not going to show the end or play the song. I wouldn't want to ruin that moment for new players. But I will say that this song takes an already climactic moment and hypes it up even more. The Belle Toils is being added to my folder of favorite game music since I picked up the OST alongside my copy of Curse Crackers. And on the subject of picking up extras, the OST comes with a couple of surprise bonuses as well. That includes a digital art book for the game with interviews of the developers, as well as a small recipe book. That recipe book contains real-world recipes for the food Claire makes in-game that give Chime different abilities. I didn't see these mentioned anywhere on the Curse Crackers Steam page, so I wanted to give them a quick highlight for players that enjoy these kind of things. Overall, Curse Crackers is an incredibly good game that I highly recommend players check out. It offers up some of the most enjoyable platforming I've experienced in years and gives players a look into a world that I truly hope we see more of. And just to be clear, I'd go so far as to call this a great game if it had that extra collectible tracking I mentioned earlier. If that gets added, go ahead and bump the game up another half point, but remember that I still believe it's worth playing in its current state. Oh, and real quick, there's evidently a free content update planned for the game, so that's another thing for players to look forward to. Thanks for stopping by and checking out my review of Curse Crackers. Indie Insight is a new series for me, so I've only got one other episode up right now. But if you like indies, there's a good chance you're a fan of retro games as well. In that case, I've got almost 50 reviews you're more than welcome to peruse in the retrospective. And until next time, take it easy.